Hey everyone, Under100 here, and today we're going to be reviewing the Apple Newton. This model, the MessagePad 120, first released in August 1966, is coming up on its 20th year anniversary. And so we've decided to ask, is it obsolete or does it still have some relevance today? First, we'll go through all of its features and then deliver the verdict. All that and more coming right up. First thing we're going to do is obviously just boot it up by clicking the side button there, and you'll notice the iconic Newton logo flash up on the screen. Once it's done loading, it'll take you to the hub of the device, which is a note-taking center. This, according to the user manual, is where your best ideas go down. So let's just write a simple message. As you can see, I've written hello, and the Newton has no trouble interpreting that. Now let's see what happens if we write something a bit harder. I'm writing hi, how are you, but deliberately making the U unclear. Let's see how it interprets it, and how long it takes to do so. Let's be clear. The Newton was meant for business use. In a meeting, for instance, you'll be writing down long sentences with very hard words that won't have good handwriting because you've written them down so fast. A 6-second delay for a simple 4-word query is just not fast enough. Not to mention misinterpreting the legible, albeit scuffy, word you. That's the Newton's primary objective, and it just is not very good. So I'm going to have to fail it for that category. We're now going to be going through the buttons at the bottom of the device. First up is names. Name stores any business card, which you can input, which I'll show you later, and you can retrieve it easily by checking underneath the letter. This feature is actually really useful, because it tells you what you need to know in a very familiar format. It's very simple to add. You just choose which type of business card you want, and once it's done loading, it'll show you this form where you just input all necessary details. I'm going to have to give it a pass. Next, we're going to talk about the calendar app called Dates. As you see, it's actually very modern, and it's a layout I use every day. It's very simple to use. You just write wherever you want your appointment to go. Unfortunately, it won't remind you, and for this reason, I'm going to give it only a half pass. Next, we're going to be talking about its apps and games, housed under the Extra label. This says it all. The fact that they would call their apps and games extra means that they're really not too serious about them, but I'll show them to you anyway. The first two apps are called Inbox and Outbox, and that's if you plug a connector through this port, you can receive email on this device. The second app is called Calls, and if you put a special card in here, you can make calls to and from this device. Connection and card are really redundant. Connection is checking the internet, and card is checking which card is inserted. Next, calculator. Very self-explanatory. It's just a calculator, albeit a very slow one. Formulas is also self-explanatory. It's just a list of formulas that you might need on a daily basis. Time zones is a feature that is always useful. It tells you what time it is in different places in the world, like you would expect. Next is clock, a feature that actually surprised me. Clock is exactly what you would think, a clock, except it's actually able to stay on top of all different windows and function at the same time as them. This is actually quite interesting because at this time, having multiple threads to a processor was a very, very hard thing to do. Finally is styles, which is as close as you get to settings. It offers very little customization other than just font changes. As you see, I've given Newton a fail for apps and games, mainly because it has no games and the apps are nothing to write home about. Before I move on to the verdict, I do want to say that Newton does have two revolutionary features. Find helps you find anything on the device, which is quite unusual on a tablet this size. And Assist helps you do anything you want in your Newton, although it was originally built as a personal assistant. One more feature that seems weird now but was not common at the time was this infrared beam. It helped transmit things like business cards to other Newtons because they had no file sharing system like the internet or like Bluetooth. On a different note, the battery life on this device is superb. Who really cares when they made the screen so terrible to save battery? It's so bad that throughout this entire video, you guys have been barely able to see what I've been doing. And this reflects really poorly on the Newton, because without the screen, nothing else matters. And to make matters worse, the features that it does have aren't up to par with today's standards, and aren't even up to par with the standards back then, which is why the Apple Newton was such a flop. Because of this, I am definitely going to say this device is obsolete. It's 20 years old and is definitely showing its age. I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for watching. Click on the left to watch a random video, or click on the right to subscribe and look at our Patreon page. Again, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned and peace out.